it's your girl, Patrina Dixon. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Money Exchange podcast. And it's My Money with Patrina Dixon on YouTube. I am so excited about this episode, y'all. If y'all are driving, make sure that you download and subscribe because you are going to want to take notes and for either the tips that you'll learn here today or just to follow this wonderful young lady about and to hear about what she has done. You're going to be amazed. So if you haven't already heard this story, you will hear it on the Money Exchange podcast. But before we jump in, my name again is Patrina Dixon. For those that may be new listening in, I am all things money and entrepreneurship. I am your money coach, your a business coach, all of those things. And I do that in many different ways. I do it by way of workshops. I go into businesses, events, churches, all of those to do financial workshops or workshops on entrepreneurship. I also have a blog, a podcast, and a YouTube channel. So depending on how you want to get your information, I have many ways for which you can do that. Now, today's episode is with Amina. Amina, how are you? Tell people who you are.
Patrina, glad to be here. My name is Amina Gilyard James. I'm the CEO of Duke Ventures, LLC, which is a socially responsible real estate investment and management company. I am in business with my husband, Norland James. We wear many hats, but right now we're putting a lot of our energy into being hoteliers.
Yeah, hoteliers. Wait, say that for me one more time.
Hotelier.
Hotelier. Okay, all right. Pardon me while I take this note here. Hoteliers. So I was saying hotel owners, but that's the official word, hoteliers.
Yeah. So a hotel owner, that's a fine term. We do own, the hotel, but a person who owns or operates a hotel is called a hotelier.
I love it. I love it so much. So, the way you say it is so cavalier, like, yeah, we own hotels or hotel cavalier. That is a magnificent thing. Like I was reading through your website and some of the articles that have been published on you and your husband. So before we get into the Memphis purchase, the two of you are investors in two other hotel properties, if I read that correctly. Is that correct? Yeah. Right. So talk about how your interest in that environment, that venture, especially after coming through COVID, or if you did it before the pandemic, and talk to me about the experience before we get to the recent purchase.
Sure. So Norland and I have always been interested in real estate. He had purchased a few residential properties before we even got married. And then when we ended up getting together, getting married, that piqued my interest in what could be done with real estate. So we were just after our trip, we do a big trip every year in August because our birthdays are 2 days apart. So got back from our trip to Italy. I was feeling really inspired. This was 2019. We were walking around our neighborhood and we were talking about what we wanted to do next as far as business owners. We thought about buying a gym, buying a bakery, apartment complexes, buildings, just regular walk around the neighborhood talk.
Wait, hold on. That's, I love it. I love it so much. Oh, bakery and buying residential property. That's what people talk about every day as they go and get their coffee. I love it so much.
And out of nowhere, I was like, oh, why don't we buy a hotel? I call it divine intervention because I knew neither one of us knew anything about hotels or really like hospitality much at all. Something in me was just like, let's buy a hotel. We didn't even know you could buy hotels. We didn't know they were franchises. We had no clue. So 2019, it was September. I'll never forget it. It just all started. We were like, well, let's get on Google. We found a business broker. We had a rocky start because we didn't know. We knew we wanted to focus on hotels, but we didn't know exactly like what all that meant. So you should get a hotel broker, not just a regular business broker. There's certain terms you should look for in contracts, certain things you should listen for when investors or not investors. There are certain things you should listen for when potential hotel owners are pitching to you to be an investor. And we didn't know all that yet. So we had a rocky start, but by 2020, even though we were in the swing of COVID, we had met a lot of really legit young people in the industry, Davon Reeves, Omari Head, Tracy Prigmore, recently.
There's a woman, Aquana, I think her name is.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I had her on the show some time ago. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
cool. Yeah, she's actually she's a good friend of ours. She's actually one of our business partners as well. So she's
Oh, okay.
an investor in the Memphis project.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so just all these women and men that we met and we learned a lot from. And so in 2019, 2020, that's when we decided that we wanted to, in 2022, become general partners or sponsors of our own hotel deal. So we kind of took a windy turn, but it worked for us because we learned a lot. So in 2021 or in 2020, we went ahead and invested in a Hilton branded hotel, a Home 2 Suite in Oklahoma.
Okay.
And in 2021, we invested in a PD. We invested in a Hampton Inn in Douglas, Georgia. And then we knew just from learning from those sponsors, seeing how not just the hospitality industry worked, but from the view of our sponsors, like from the view of owners, how that's handled and all the things that go into sponsoring a project. So we really felt ready by 2022 to know for sure, like, okay, we're going to do this year. And then in April 2022, I actually participated in a pitch competition called She Has a Deal for aspiring women hoteliers. And I didn't win, but it was just the fire I needed to continue to pursue this particular deal. Because at the pitch competition, I actually pitched the Memphis deal. Yeah, on the stage, I told the host and the founder of She Has a Deal that, I told you I was going to buy a hotel in 2022. And we closed on the Memphis deal on December 27th. So we still had a few days to spare in 2022.
Well, let me ask you, let me back you up a little bit on the first two. I think you said they were Hilton brand, and then nobody anticipated what we went through in 2020 and into the next year. How do the purchase of during that time, was it ideal? Because that definitely was an industry that got hit really bad during that time. Do you feel like you got a deal on those properties, and those same properties would have been priced differently prior or even now?
I definitely think so. As far as the purchase prices and all that, I definitely think there was a deal on them. Okay. However, with the hospitality industry, with hotel ownership, you kind of have to look at it backwards. It's like any other, it's an operating business, but I think sometimes people forget that it's also a real estate asset. So if you think back, I don't know how old you are, Patrina, but I remember 07 and all that. And the people who were buying up the real estate back then are like all rich now. Yeah. So when you're going through, turbulent times in the external environment and the social environment, and the economic environment, this is actually one of the best times, depending on your situation, to pick up real estate assets. Yeah. So that's kind of where our head was, like, let's take some of our money out of the stock market and place it in real estate. And because we were limited partners in those two deals, as a limited partner or a passive investor, you don't hold all of the responsibility or liability for the asset. So for the loan, for the this, for the that, for the day-to-day operations. So we thought it was a comfortable way to experiment with hotel ownership without taking on too much liability, especially because it was a shaky environment at the time.
So talk to me about that, because then I definitely for sure want to get into the most recent purchase. So passive, you use the term passive investor or limited investor. Talk to us about that in potentially that process. Like what does that mean? And how, if somebody's interested, how do they know where to go for something like that if they want to dabble, if you will?
Yeah, dabble away. So typically, you kind of have these two categories. There's limited partner, which some people use synonymously with passive investor. And then there's general partner, which you can use synonymously with active investor. So as a limited partner, basically you're an investor in a project and you've seen a pitch, you've talked to, the people, and you find it interesting and you want to invest in a project. You give your money for a certain agreement on what return you'll get over the hold period of the asset. Now, if you're an active investor or the general partner, you're the one sponsoring the project. You're putting the whole project together, and you hold like 99% of the liability for the success of the project, for the loan, that's taken out to fund the project, etc. So we started off as limited partners or passive investors. We found those opportunities by looking, online, social media, seeing who the players were in the hotel ownership space. what they were trying to do. I know it was important for us as we started to invest with Black potential hoteliers because the percentage of Black, wait, let me get this right. Less than 2% of hotels are owned by Black people. So
Less than 2%.
yeah, so it's
By
very
Black. So it's not Black and minority, it's just Black.
Black. Mhm.
Okay.
Well, it can't be Black and minority because I think around 70% are owned by Indian Americans.
Oh, got it. Yep. Makes
So
sense. Okay. Yep.
So we really wanted to help the movement of, getting Black people, African Americans more into the hotel ownership space. So that's one of the requirements we kind of looked for, like who out there is doing this. What Black folks out there try to buy hotels, basically.
I love it. I love it so much.
So that's what we did. And we, found some of the folks I mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
And we liked what they were talking about, liked their pitches, liked the way they did business, and we invested. Now I tell people, since we will be buying more hotels, we're always an option. Duke Ventures is always an option for you. We plan to announce our next project sometime this year, probably in about 6 months. We got our hands kind of full right now, but we will be announcing our next project relatively soon. So if you are interested in becoming a limited partner or a passive investor, we'll have a project for you, and we'll have pitches and webinars and all those things, all those great things, so you can come and learn about our next project and what we're doing, and how you can get in on it.
Okay, I want to I want to go into your current property. Then I want to go there. Ask a couple questions on that for people that may be interested. So now you've made the purchase. You are, I guess, the general partner. You have all the liability. So that is I'll call it a huge leap from where you were, the first two properties to now. Talk to me about how you prepared, not just financially, but how did you prepare for that? Because it's one thing to, okay, here's some money, I'm a part of this project, and keep me posted as how's it going on, or look into it, keep me posted how's it going on, to like, this is mine, and I got people that I have to now give the information that I used to look for or answer those questions. Talk to me about how you all prepared for that in the whole scheme of things.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. Tell them first where the property is, where it is, and then go into answering that question.
All right. So it's a Quality Inn by Choice Hotels in Memphis, Tennessee. It's right off, I think it's I-240. So it's in the Raleigh neighborhood. So it's off on the highway, but it is within the Memphis city limits. It's 70 rooms. And we're really excited about it. Purchase price was 3.85. But the total project cost is actually 4.7 billion. A lot of people don't understand that difference. So this is a major project. We have a $500,000 renovation on it. So we will be doing some upgrades, mostly cosmetic, to the exterior and the interior of the property. So we're really excited about that. So how did we prepare for that leap? I think, like, if I had to state it simply, I would say that our limited partner investing was part of the preparation. It was a long process. It wasn't just like, oh, we were limited partners, now we're general partners. It was like, oh, let's learn about hotel ownership. We're limited partners. We're learning this. We're talking to other sponsors. We're talking to other owners. We're seeing what they had to go through. We're listening to their pain points. We're listening to their pain points, learning how they got over them, this, that, and the other. So it was a gradual progression.
Okay.
I don't want it to come off like it's such an abrupt thing. Like we woke up, it was like, oh, time to buy a hotel. Like for us, the preparation was years. It doesn't have to be that way, but that worked for us. It worked for us in 2019 to say, in 3 years, we want to go from right now, we know like nothing about hotel ownership, to being general partners. And then we started filling in the blanks. Like, what steps can we take to make this process more manageable for us? What steps can we take to get there?
Okay. And how do you talked about people being a part of this one. So I guess they would be limited partners or passive investors to your property. How do you go about securing those individuals?
So if people are interested, they find the sponsor's website. So you can go to, you can go to www.duke-ventures.com, get on our email list. That's the same thing we did for other sponsors. We got on there. And then what will happen is that sponsor will have webinars, information sessions when they have a project coming up that you can invest in. And so you go to those webinars. And now I don't want to shade anyone, but if you're dealing with a sponsor who knows what they're doing, they should have a pitch deck prepared for you.
Okay.
All the major metrics that you should look for, that you should familiarize yourself with before you go to the info session. And they'll explain to you the market, where the project's located, why it's going to be successful, what you can expect to get in return for your money. And then once you do that, you can actually, okay, I see. Sorry.
Is that Petey?
Yeah, Petey is barking because my husband is going for a run.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So once you go and you go to the pitch and learn about what the project is, then you can have follow-up calls with that sponsor, email them. We got so many after our pitches. We got so many calls and emails. I mean, I feel like I answered like 2,000 questions from potential investors. It paid off in the end.
Yeah.
We were able to raise we had to raise we had to raise almost $800,000 for the down payment for the project. So it paid off. But yeah, just ask those questions. Make sure you're comfortable with the sponsor, because you're going to be stuck together for a while, because the hold period for a hotel can be anywhere from 5 to 10 years or longer before you get your full investment back.
And so what do you, as the general partner, so you talked about what the limited partner or passive, I hope I'm getting these terms right, limited partner or passive investor into the hotel, what they should look for, the pitch and the various different things you mentioned with all the proper metrics. What do you look for as a general partner in these individuals that have an interest or aspiration?
That's a great question. And I think one that we were told to really think about before we started on our general partnership journey, but we probably didn't think about as much as we should have. And I think we ended up being really blessed and lucky to have such a great cohort of hotel investors with us for this project. But if I had to put it into words, definitely look for someone who is flexible. In the process of acquiring, developing new construction, anything with a hotel purchase, there's going to be bumps in the road, no matter how well prepared you are or how well planned your journey is. So you need people that are flexible. Like if there's a delay to closing, or if there's like another requirement from the bank for the investors, you want someone who's amenable to that, and who's flexible. We look for people who know what, we're talking about. I understand it's hard, especially, hotel investing is not as popular as some of the other types of investing or some of the other asset classes. So we understand that it's new for a lot of people. Oh, should I pause while he's barking? Here in a second. But there's so many options out there for learning about hotel ownership. You can go to Vestor Academy. You can do a Google search. You can go to She Has a Deal. There's so many people out there who offer workshops just on the basics. So when you come to a pitch, because you're interested in hotel investing and becoming a limited partner, I know as a sponsor, we really like to see that people did their basic research first. Like when we say ADR, you know what we mean. That's like, ADR, average daily rate. When we say RevPAR, you know what that means. When we say comp set, you know what that means. Like just those basic terms. When we talk about a star report, you know what a star report is, which is basically a report that shows, your hotel property's performance against your competitive set it's a trend report over months and years. So like basic terms, I know that we get really excited when we have an investor that comes to us and like asks questions like that, because we're like, and the reason that is because not because we mind explaining things to people. We don't. We love answering questions, but it's more you run a higher risk of running into issues later with an investor.
Yeah.
They didn't know what they were getting themselves into. So we really like to see that people understand what they're getting themselves into. They understand the basic language of hotel investing. They understand the risk. They understand that any investment's risky, and they understand that it's a long-term investment. You're not going to get your money back tomorrow. So that's probably the number one thing we look for, is someone who's well informed when they come to us.
Yeah. So, you're happy to be as transparent. I'm happy for you to be as transparent as you want on this, with this particular answer to this question. If somebody is interested, what sort of how do they find their finances need to be if somebody's interested in something like this?
Well, generally, if you're going to invest in any real estate project, you should not invest anything you can't stand to lose. That's
That's
just
absolutely right. Yes.
in
That's general investing, right? Yeah.
investing. So
Yeah.
I always lead with that because when we get a lot of people who are new to investing, period. So we
Mhm.
kind of have to start at like bird's eye view. Like this is generally is risky. But as far as your financial situation, every project's different. So some hotel projects you can get in for as little as 1,000.
Mhm.
Some you can get in for 25,000. Some you can buy in for 100,000. It just depends on that project and what that sponsor is requiring. No, but you also have to remember that what you put in is most times, if not all times, going to be proportionate to the equity that you get in that project.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's what I was going to ask. Let's just say whatever property, right? Is it true that some of your investors have more equity because they put more in, or is your goal to have everybody coming in at the same amount, or does it matter?
So it depends on the project, but I think at least for us, it was our goal to have everyone coming in at the same amount. Usually the sponsor will set like a minimum buy-in
Okay.
amount, but
Okay.
depending on what your circumstances and how much you need to close the deal, you might alter that. You might, usually it doesn't go higher, but it can come lower.
Okay.
And because of that, usually, or I say because of that, typically investors may end up with different percentages of equity.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of how the game goes. Your equity
Yeah.
is proportionate to what you put in.
I think any percentage because you're still a hoteler, right? I'm no hotelier, right? Regardless of the percentage, right? So I think it's a great opportunity. I am so intrigued with this. I was when I had, talked to somebody else that is also a hoteler, like a hotelier. It's a wonderful thing. And when I saw this I saw the announcement about you all, you and your husband across many different outlets. And I was like, I have to talk to her. I have to talk to her. I wanted to know more. I wanted to understand. And this is absolutely wonderful. When I was reading about the property through your story, not going to the property directly, I heard Memphis, and that's all I heard. And then when I saw the proximity based on the write up to Raleigh, I'm like, oh my, that makes it like to me even more attractive. Raleigh is actually Raleigh Durham was actually one of the areas we were considering moving into. I'm in Connecticut right now, so that was very interesting to me.
Oh,
Where are you located?
so I have to tell you because a lot of people make this assumption. So Raleigh is the name of the neighborhood in Memphis.
Okay. Because I was like, I'm like, wait, I'm not. You can tell I'm not good on geography, so I'm like, oh, okay. But no, so you're saying that's a town in Memphis.
Yeah, so Raleigh is a historic neighborhood in Memphis.
Oh, okay. Got it. So where are you located?
We're located in Maryland, so in the DC.
Yes. And that was actually another area we considered moving in. So one last question in regards to the current property where you're the general partner in Memphis. You talked a little bit, and I'm looking over here. This is where my notes are, and I'm writing in, trying to real quick read this. One of the things you talked about is the choice in the property, right? So can you talk a little bit about how you go about choosing, okay, I'm sure some research is done, but what is it that the core, I'll say couple tenants that you look for when you choose a location?
Yeah,
A
so
property in the location.
so market research is super important. The main thing you want to look for when you're looking at a property and its market is what are the demand generators? Like what are bringing people to that specific area so that they'll need a place to stay. Like, are there universities nearby, sports teams, national sports teams, military bases? So that's probably one of the first things you want to look at. What is actually going to bring people to this area? Because if you don't have people coming to the area and people that need a hotel to stay in, then, what's the point?
Yeah.
That's one of the number ones. And Memphis is a major city. It's more secondary to some larger markets, but it's a place that has it has an NBA team.
Mhm.
It has a couple of universities. It's close to a military base, I believe. So there were several demand generators. And then we looked at how the market performs in stressful times. So how did the market perform during COVID, and how did that particular property perform during COVID? And you don't just look at, during COVID, you look at the trends, because there's always going to be a stressful time in the
Mhm.
business environment: pandemics, recessions, wars, what have you. Something's always going to be going on. So you want to see how stable those trends are over years, really, and decide from there, okay, is this something that can perform well even when things go really wrong?
Mhm.
So just to sum it up, I think the top two would be demand generators, and then trends and performance for that particular property
Got
in
it.
market.
Got it. So this, Amina, this has been fantastic. So I know your company is Duke Ventures, and it's Duke, is it underscore or dash?
Dash.
Duke Dash Ventures. We're actually going to drop it down in the show notes. So if there's somebody that's listening that and I'll put listener in two categories: listeners that had never thought that this was possible, that they could be an owner or a part owner, a limited partner, a general partner, a passive investor into a hotel, or somebody that had been thinking about this and just didn't know how to get started. What would you say to them? Like, what was your comment that you want to end with regarding this industry and how you are going through it with the storm there? What would you say to those folks?
I would say that it is a great way to build I would say that it is a great way to build generational wealth. If you look at African Americans in this country, and how we've been able to build wealth, a lot of that is owed to real estate. But I would also say learn all you can, ask questions, network with people who have similar interests, and just never stop learning. It's a very unique industry, partially because what I said earlier, not only is it real estate, commercial real estate, but it's also, business. It's an operating business on top of a piece of real estate. So there are a lot of different intricacies and moving parts. So definitely just learn all you can.
Love it. I love it. And I think, and look, again, correct me if I'm wrong here. If you're interested in deals that you may have coming up for our, opportunities and hearing pitches, they need to go to Duke Dash Ventures. Again, it'll be below Duke Dash Ventures. Get on that email list, and then you'll get information on it. But say it in your own words. If people are interested and want to work with Amina and her husband at Duke Ventures and others, what do they need to do?
Sure. So we're really excited to expand our portfolio as a socially responsible real estate investment company. And if you want to get involved with us in our next project, you can go to duke-ventures.com and get on our mailing list. And then you'll receive information about our webinars and pitches, and information about our upcoming projects as we grow our portfolio.
Amina, thank you so much for being on the show. Congratulations to everything that you're doing. Really appreciate that. When I was doing my research, I put my name on that mailing list. So I'm excited about that as well. And thank you all. Thank you all for always tuning in, getting your money and entrepreneurship tips and strategies, and hopefully ventures here on the Money Exchange podcast, or It's My Money with Patrina Dixon. But I got to ask you one more favor. If you have not subscribed, make sure you go down on YouTube in that red box and hit that subscribe button. Whatever you're listening to this on your audio platforms, make sure that you follow so you'll know when episodes are presented to you. And don't forget to go in the show notes for two reasons. Go in the show notes and get on that newsletter list, and make sure that you leave us a comment and let us know what you think of this episode. Make it a great day.